pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as you can tell by all the papers, we've been busy. Not.
We've been busy.
So we'll start here. We did have an executive session. I didn't write the date down, but remember we had one, was it after the last meeting? No.
I know we had one.
Yeah, we had one, and I didn't write the date down. Hang on a second, give me my notes. 6/6 we had one.
Yeah, I think our meeting was the 7th last month, wasn't it?
No, it was the
No,
it's
6th.
the
You
sixth.
did that
Okay.
before the board meeting last
Okay.
month.
It was before the board meeting.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
you
we
already
mentioned it.
addressed that.
My bad. That's why there's no date on it. Okay. So we'll start with the secretary's report there. Sherry?
Well, you have the package of information. The financial statements are in there for both May and June, if there's any questions on that.
And
I had,
so we can just review the minutes, if you will, in your
Yes.
packet from the June 6th meeting. Let's see if there's any additions or corrections. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence, Sherry, do we have anything there? I think we have one in the packet.
Yeah, just the KLH golf outing. Anybody?
And then there's one that came in with your statements. It was in the back of the statements. Remember I just handed you the bank statements?
Oh,
I'm sorry, I should have told you.
the authorities,
Yeah, it's an invitation to join the authority.
okay.
It tells you everybody that's a member. KLH, I think you're a member. So we can just kind of piggyback off of you for a while.
The PMA?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a biggie, right?
No.
Okay.
Are any of you going to the PMA conference? It's in
I
Erie.
am, yeah. Are
You
you
are?
going? I am, yeah.
I won't be there, but we do host a dinner. We should have sent out.
I haven't received anything yet.
Maybe it hasn't been sent out yet.
Okay.
Where's it gonna be held at?
Erie, I believe.
Well, the conference is in Erie. I don't know where your dinner is there.
Yeah, just a conference deal.
The conference is at the Bayfront Convention Center.
Okay, in Erie.
Mhm. Yes. It's nice, it's closer to home for once.
And the date on it?
Is September the 9th through the 11th. Sunday to Wednesday.
Great view of the lake from there, by the way.
Yes.
What is it again?
He said it's a
Sheraton?
great view, great view of the
Of the
lake.
lake
lake
from
Yeah.
the conference.
You're
Yeah,
right
it's
there on
on
the.
that little,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Sheraton and the Marriott is on the other side. So it's really nice.
And I can, if anybody's planning on going, we should be sending them out in the mail,
Okay.
invitations, but if
We're
not.
probably not getting an invitation because we're not members of PMA.
No, we go through the list and,
Okay.
right, so I believe you guys are on there.
Okay.
He's talking, I think, about the dinner that KLH hosts. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, you guys would
You
still
can go as a non-member, I believe. I don't think you have to be a member.
I'll look into it. Let's see.
Yeah, our dinner is Sunday night.
Okay.
Which would be the September the 9th?
9th.
Yeah, and the dinner is at the Sheraton Bayfront Hotel ballroom.
Oh, okay. There we go.
And And the invitation was just sent to me from my secretary on July 30th, so 2 days ago. So it'll be in the mail soon. July 30th, 2 days ago. they
Oh,
just
okay.
finalized it.
30th, okay.
So the only other one was the golf outing too,
Yes,
and we all got a,
copy of that.
where do you normally hold it at? It was pretty far away. Huh?
We are now doing a rotating schedule. 1 year we do Bird's Foot
Yeah.
out near like Freeport, and then every other year we're going to do Lindenwood down here. So this year it is at Lindenwood. Last year would have been at Bird's Foot.
Okay.
Feel free to come by, even if you just want to drop by for the dinner afterwards.
Say hi.
Yeah.
I was talking to my guys about that today. I'm like, either one of you guys want to go golfing?
Mhm.
They were like, I don't know. So I don't know whether they will or not.
You don't have to be a golfer, but it's fun.
Actually, I was like,
Yeah,
I never picked up a golf club.
And that's
Couldn't tell you that.
August the 31st. Yeah. Okay, so we're good on our secretary's report, and we'll move into treasurers. George, if you want to walk us through it.
Sure. As far as the financial statement, as of the end of the month, we were at $24,261.62. And I checked the current balance as of today. There was a deposit from the towers, which brought today's current balance to $25,026.89. As far as the bills to be paid, we will have,
But I think you're backwards on that. It started at 25, you're at 23,340.
but, yeah, you may be right. Let me just told you. You probably are right. You're all wrong with my wife, she's always right. So you need to go to the top of it.
Yeah, and you need to start from the bottom, and work your way up.
Okay, here's what I've got. 24,261.
As of the end
Oh.
of June, yes. Up right here. And then you go up, there was a deposit, you were down at the end, and 24,261.62. And then there was nothing but that in July, there was a payment, your interest payment,
Okay.
so it brought you down to 23,431.
Okay. Why am I not seeing it on my book?
Because this is the end of June, and you still from July,
Yeah, that's,
and we didn't have the July statement yet.
that is one.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we already did that. May I have that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As of 7th month, 26th day, our balance was $23,240.01. And, if I'm correct, today's,
That's in June.
okay.
You need to go from the bottom up.
Well, our balance is $23,340.01. However, we did get a deposit today.
As of the end of July, and then you got a deposit on August 1st.
Yes, for
Yes.
$787.06.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you. That made any sense to anybody? That's where we're at.
So we got a statement in this morning, which
Yes.
would have been July, but you didn't include that in here because it ends June.
Yes.
I didn't get July, I messaged him back, he sent me May and June statement, like you sent me. So I didn't have July.
I did not have July statement either.
See, the July
I couldn't-
statement
So that's why I was
I couldn't
asking if you
find it.
could electronically, if you got it, and your text said that you got it from George.
Well, I
Well-
didn't even, until later in the day, I
Okay.
didn't look at the email. When I
That's
looked at
what's-
it,
It's
Then I looked
confusing
at
me.
it and
Okay.
it was like, it said May and June statement or whatever, and I'm like, oh, those are the ones I already got from Paul.
The July statement wasn't in there.
Right,
I gave her the most recent that I had.
right.
But the balance is at 20, whatever that is.
The balance is what?
Whatever that is on top, I forget.
23,340.01 as of July 26th. So your ending balance at the end of July was 23,340.01.
And then George, you were saying our current checkbook balance is 25?
He read the opposite
I read
way,
it
that's
wrong.
why I
Okay,
interrupted
so
him.
the number you just gave us was the current checkbook balance?
Correct.
As of
Gotcha.
today.
And you're saying that did include the deposit from August 1st for the tower?
Well, this
No.
top one did.
There's no balance up here. They're only giving you transactions through the end of July. This starts your new, it's a pending,
Okay, so.
pending
okay.
transaction.
Okay, well, it's
So-
showing it, but it didn't.
So no,
It-
so there's still another $700 that
It's
should be
pending
paid.
to come in, correct.
Okay, that's fine. So as far as bills to be paid,
We have bills for Yablonsky, Costello, and Lecky, multiple ones. That Sherry Crawford, KLH Engineering. And we will have Houston and Associates. And do you have something for Higbee? They ought to be about.
yeah, and I'll mention Higbee too. I put it down under
Oh, okay,
new business insurance renewal.
okay.
But we can list it too, Higbee's gonna be in there.
So that's what we will have for that. I did get the audit and everything is good with it. What they did, they sent us 7 copies of the report and letters required under generally accepted accounting principles to those charged with the governance of Mount Pleasant Township Municipal Authority. Got 2 copies of the legal notice, need to be signed or indicated and advertised in a local newspaper.
May I interrupt her? Erin from the township office asked us, I had to send her a copy of the audit, and she asked if she wanted us to advertise it, for them to advertise. And I said, yeah, because that's what we did last year. What was that?
That has been done then?
Yes.
Let's take care of it.
Yeah,
Good.
we should be getting a copy of it and stuff for our records.
Okay,
So
but
if
we
you
don't
wanna
have to do it, it's done.
Right, but if you want to just make notes of it, that township office, we're going to advertise, we just need to look for the copies.
Okay. All right, there's 3 copies of the annual report of municipal authorities to be distributed as following: 1 copy to the Department of Community and Economic Development, which you're gonna have to sign, 1 copy for the township and 1 for our records. And that would be the extent of that, unless there's any questions with it.
No, I looked through it. It was good.
I wasn't at the meeting with Brian. Were you with him there? So I guess you
Brian,
guys
FNB.
wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it in there because it was related to finance. They requested a meeting. First they requested all board members, and Eric and I was like, so we worked it down to the 2 of us. Basically what they were looking for is, they haven't seen any activity, as I reported to you all in an email there, but they haven't seen any activity of us drawing on the line of credit. And they wanted to know if the project was still moving forward, where we at. So it was just kind of an audit update kind of thing, is where's the project at? And they wanted to know about the Act 13 money and what it looked like when we were gonna finish a project, but go ahead.
And
Mike.
I was just gonna add that, they seemed very knowledgeable of, government business and these type of projects and, the pace that they go at and what this one has. So, I mean, it was just a general update. They just wanted to meet and see where everything stood.
Sure, we got a lot of money to.
And they wanted to see if we would be able to meet our obligation and, for the 3-year line, and how that would roll into Penvest funding, and then Penvest funding would let us pay them back, and if things were in place, which that's where Brian said they're very knowledgeable, if things are in place with Penvest will front the money back, and or they'll just roll it for another 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes, but as long as they know Penvest is involved. So I thought it was a good meeting, just kind of a surprise to me, that's all, just out of the blue that.
I would agree that the communication leading up to it was a little deceiving on the content of the meetings.
Yeah, so, and they wanted to know what we were operating on, and I explained to them about the Act 13 money that we've had, and that, they just really thought that we were gonna be borrowing a lot more money. Now, I did mention to them that once we get to easements if we go into an eminent domain situation, that's gonna be a chunk of money there that we'll probably have to draw on it again for that. But other than that, we really don't have any major expenses coming up to draw on. And anything else on FNB?
I don't have anything on.
No, but I'm gonna add in something for
Okay.
you, just when you said the eminent domain and the easements. I've been contacting residents, leaving messages. I thought maybe somebody might be at the meeting tonight. Obviously, they're not too concerned, I don't know. I spoke to a couple of them. A couple of them needed their new easements because they lost them, misplaced them. They just figured the easement was for their records. They really didn't think that some of them needed to return them. They just said, well, you have my permission, go ahead and move forward. I'm like, no, we need to have the easement signed and returned.
That's good.
So that's where I am with that, and I'm working my way through. The only thing, and we can get into the other part later, so just so you
Yeah,
know,
we're
it
into
looks
it.
like
We're going.
eminent domain is probably gonna be a portion of these people, because they're advised them of the meeting to come, and nobody's here. I left messages on people who
Okay.
won't answer their phone, or maybe they weren't home, I don't know, but yeah, I haven't heard back from anybody that I've contacted yet. And then there are a lot that I guess, Paul, either one way or the other, I'm either gonna need to go to like the white pages online, because I've gone through, phone book, so on, trying to come up with numbers for who I could. And I still have a portion that I don't have numbers for.
The
but-
people that indicated that they're willing to sign, you're facilitating that then? And
Mhm. Well, I'm telling them, yeah, we can either, you can come to a meeting, make arrangements, or you can get it notarized on your own, send it in. Some of the people have indicated, yeah, they still have the form, then they'll get it notarized. They're not able to come to either tonight's meeting or any. And I told them, I said, we meet the first Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock at the township office. So we'll see where that goes and see if we get anything in or not.
So let me ask you, I'm gonna jump ahead to the easement numbers under solicitor's report. Has any of those numbers changed? Have we signed anyone else up?
Not that I'm
I
aware
haven't
of.
seen any new.
Okay. So then out of letter C, which is Group C, the 327, how many of those people do you think that you have contacted just to?
Yeah, I'm all the way up. I'm probably at least halfway through the listing of everybody. Now I went through and counted, and I think with people having multiple easements, I've gone through here with the ones that are checked off and the ones that Brian has. And what I'm coming up with right now, outstanding as far as easements go, by this last list, we only should have 222 easements outstanding.
So on my list, I got 327, so you're
Okay.
thinking that should be two what?
222.
220?
Well, we don't have 222 in place, but they're somewhere either with the engineer or they have been done, because by this list, contacted engineer and easement recorded, this list that I have right here, I've checked through, and I come up with 222 outstanding.
So if I do the math
That's a third.
with requested design changes and signed, it doesn't come up.
The
Two,
sign
three.
hasn't changed, so it's from what I'm hearing is Sherry's indicating that there are more than 100 that have requested design change. Is what?
Well, that's a possible.
But that's, you're basing it off the list, right, that we
Correct.
marked. So,
I'm basing it off the list. This, I had one and then I had the other. I was trying to keep my plate. And on this list right here, when I go through from start to finish, the check marks that I have and the ones that I don't, it could be a few more, Paul, here actually, because like the storage place hasn't signed any of theirs and there's, you know,
Yeah,
several of
storage
them.
place.
But
Right. So just to confirm, you're thinking there's about
contact-wise, I have 222 people.
222 people that have not signed. It should be, we'll call it Group C.
Right.
And out of that, you've probably contacted over 100?
75 maybe.
Okay.
100 more here.
That's good. I'm just trying to
Something like
gauge that to coincide with the end of the year, or we need to put a date on that to say.
We're
So,
done.
yeah, so like this is August, so if we can get through August, you contacting the rest of them. We can decide whether we want to send out another letter before we go into eminent domain, but by then, we should know where we're at with the engineering changes too. So
Okay.
let's think tentatively this is August, September. Do you want to say the October 1st meeting as we make that final decision? We start moving towards that. So, yeah. And that gives Sherry 2 months to finish up calling the rest of those people, gives us some time for design changes. And then we should be able to say where we're at, hopefully, in October. Okay, good. So you've called quite a few people, but you're thinking the majority of them are just ignoring it.
Yes, I am. Because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and what we were trying to do with, from your standpoint, is if we can get you to call them and get them to sign on, it saves us a lot of money with
Right.
the gentleman over here.
Correct.
Okay.
And
So,
we're working on that. Like I said, I have a few that have said, oh yeah, I have that, I guess I forgot all about it, I'll find it and send it in, and then there were just those handful that I couldn't find it.
yeah.
mailed
So
it to the
maybe
wrong
on
address.
those ones, if you
So-
don't mind doing a second call in a week or two, you know, with them,
Mhm.
just to kind of see what goes on.
Yes.
That's good, did good. So that's kind of it on our easement report there, just jumping ahead.
So yeah, I'm sorry I got sidetracked.
Let me go back to the number 6, Act 13 funding from the Mount Pleasant Township Board of Supervisors. Typically, we get a check in July, which is half of what the Act 13 money was. We're into August and we haven't got the check yet. I noticed on the agenda for the Board of Supervisors July meeting that the Act 13 funding was on the agenda for discussion, and that there's some supervisors that want to relook at the way they're distributing that money. We just have to wait for them to the next August meeting to decide, for them to discuss it or decide what they're gonna do. As far as the project goes, if the supervisors don't want to give us half of the Act 13 money like they discussed and agreed to, then we still have a line of credit that covers us finishing the project. So it's, what basket does it come out of? You know, I mean, I'd rather see it come out of the Act 13 money
Do we
personally.
have any legal recourse? Because that was something that was decided upon. And,
Good question.
Not with the government, I wouldn't think.
well, I don't know. I don't know.
It would be very difficult to try to argue that a current board is bound by a decision of a prior board to commit to a future course of action like that.
Current board should be bound by prior board's decision, correct?
Well, they can always revisit it,
They
Just
can
like Congress.
re-vote on it again,
sure.
bring it up for discussion like they're doing.
Right.
Yep.
I don't believe, you know, that you would have, it's not like you're a company that they've entered into a contract with that they can't get out of. This was a distribution of governmental funds that a prior board made, what obviously I think everyone in this room would agree was a proper decision to help fund this project, help keep the costs down by not financing money when monies were otherwise available.
Right.
But there's new people and perhaps they have new priorities. I will repeat what I said before, the moment this project gets stopped because of some political or personal issue is going to start to draw the attention of the DEP and more problems than anybody wants.
And this is not a good time to put a roadblock up on the project. It's gonna cost a lot of money.
There's so much money invested, it's
That's
almost,
right.
it would be like having a house completely built and then saying, I'm not gonna pay to put the roof on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you're in too deep.
Good analogy, right?
I know what it is, but just for everybody's knowledge, that's what's going on and why we haven't gotten that check in July, so. Any other questions on the treasurer's report? I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Let me
Is there a
interrupt a
second?
minute. I do
Sorry.
think you need to sign this, and maybe during this, and whether it matters now or. And do you think the township needs a hard copy, since they have an electronic copy?
You can give it to them if you like. We have plenty of copies there. Okay.
That's the DECD or whatever it's called, up there, the letters are.
I'm sorry?
I said, this is the, let's see what it's called, the DCED, you have to sign it. Name's on
That's
there.
for the-
I got the mail
for the
now, I
audit,
can,
yeah.
yes, for the audit.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to accept the treasurer's report. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So Eric, anything under solicitor's report outside of easements?
Well, no, but let me talk about that a little bit more on a couple of these issues. First of all, as Sherry indicated, she did send me the names of some people that she contacted that for whatever reason said they needed a new copy, and we are sending those out this week. Tana, who you may have had some dealings with, I believe, was off Monday and Tuesday, so she's catching up a little bit. But we're taking care of that. I think that what Sherry's describing with the people she's contacting is typical of what you're going to see. It's easier to do nothing than to do something. It's easier to not read a letter than to read a letter and understand what it says. And I think that even when we get to the point of eminent domain, you're going to see the vast majority of the people that we have to proceed with an eminent domain do nothing, which means then the eminent domain just gets finalized if they do nothing after 30 days. The way that process works is we file it. We immediately have the property interest when we file the eminent domain, and the only question is the property owner to be compensated in some way? As we've discussed in the past, with the vast majority of the properties, the value of the property with sewage versus the value of property without sewage is going to be higher, and therefore it's a negative number from their perspective, so the authority won't owe anything. But unfortunately, if we are required to go that route, we are going to have to pay to get appraisal done on the properties. There's going to be an additional expense to the project that ultimately the customers will bear, unfortunately. And of course, there's going to be some for my time that's involved. The appraisal is probably going to cost more than me at this next stage of things, if we have to go and get a number of these properties appraised. But I just want to again summarize, that's kind of the way that will all work out. But I think you're going to see a lot of people just won't do anything, either in terms of our request that they sign an easement, or when we file for eminent domain, and there'll be a handful that will contest the eminent domain proceedings, and that's what we'll be left dealing with at that point. You know, that's kind of a prediction, but I think it's a pretty informed prediction, and that's why I'm letting you know that's the way I think it would happen. I see you have this on later, but I'm going to discuss it in my report because it involved me primarily. There had been some questions raised by Mr. Walsh about some properties of his. He owns multiple properties, all fairly close to each other. We had sent him some easements to sign, and he was of the impression that they related to where the subway is located, which is one of his properties. And it actually was quite confusing for a little while. I had to do some digging to figure out that the easements we had previously sent him related to properties that he, or a company that he operates under an LLC owns, at the end of Dyer Road, right on Dyer and Main. And what we had sent him was consistent with what the county records show for the ownership. I believe I was never able to communicate with him. I did try to reach him, but never heard back from him. That he was confused that those easements related to the subway property a little further down the road. But in the course of that all coming up and trying to figure that out, it was discovered that, wait a minute, the project did get extended down to the subway. And I think he knew that, which is why he was confused too. I'm not faulting his confusion. It confused me when it all came in. And based upon that, we discovered that there was never actually a request for anyone to sign the right-of-ways on a few parcels. Brian has given me new drawings. There may be a need from our discussions prior to the meeting tonight to update at least one or more of these, because I do believe that the property where the subway is located has now been subdivided. It had originally been one parcel, and if I recall, don't hold me to this, but if I recall from when I was pulling up the maps last week and looking at them, I think it was subdivided into 4 different properties. So how that changes this, we'll figure that out between Brian and I, but I will be sending out requests for these few additional ones that kind of got tacked on later on in the project and just were missed until this all came up. That's pretty much it then, though, but it's all related to the easements and those issues.
And I will note that I did leave one set of those easements up there for you guys if you want to look at them. Yeah, primarily I gave them to Eric for him to prepare the agreements.
So this is showing Dyer Drive, and then there's the Joanne Alexi's property. So
Right.
that is part, are you saying
The
that's part of?
properties that we had earlier sent to were on the other side of Dyer Drive, if you're looking at the top one here.
Yeah, yeah.
And those are owned by a company that Mr. Walsh owns or has an ownership interest in, according to the tax records.
And the gravity sewer stopped before it was, I think this parcel across from Dyer Drive, we requested an easement for, but from that point it went south. It never got as far as Dyer Drive. And then after the easements were already created, the sewer was extended to the subway from that manhole, and it was all 2-inch pressure sewers with grinder pumps. So this easement on the top for this Joanne Alexi would be the first easement beyond the limits, the original limits of the project for that 2-inch force main running down Main Street.
So even though it's not Hickory Ventures property, does these easements needed to get there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the handful of easements here, that one property raised the question, but there's, what, a total of 5 from.
Maybe 6.
Yeah, the old extent of the project to where
This way.
that is that we needed to get.
Yeah, if you look through them, as you go to the second one, that continues further away from Dyer Drive, and then the third one even further away. So if you look at them in that way, you'll be able to follow where it's going, and then ultimately
Oh,
it ends up where the subway is located.
Yeah, something like that.
No, I have maps in my car. We can look at them after the meeting if you want just to clarify.
So these easements, and where I was getting confused is you were talking about the subways being subdivided into 4. We still have that to deal with,
Yeah, that's
because that's outside of this.
right.
Well, that's one of these.
We did the easement for the subway property based on what existed when we did all the other easements on our design drawings. I noticed it through work on the sewage disposal on-lot survey work, and Eric discovered it a different way, but both of us looked at the assessment website and noticed now that that last easement may need to be corrected for new property lines.
Right, because if
Which
I
is,
look
it's the
at
last one in the stack.
the very last one
Right.
isn't showing the Family Dollar. And if it's not showing the Family Dollar, then the subdivisions aren't shown either.
That's correct.
Yep.
And this is based on, if you may recall, the mapping program that was originally used to do the easements was using data that at this point is probably 3 years old, I would guess. So that'll get updated.
Okay. So is there anything that we need to do on these easements? You're just sending these out to people?
I will just be following the procedure that was previously approved for these easements. They just were kind of left out of the process because of what was explained tonight through the engineer. And we will make sure that they now get included.
So do I hear a motion to accept the solicitor's report?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would just know one other thing, Paul, I know that Mr. Walsh had called you. If you would have any further communications with him, make sure he understands that what he's gonna get from these new drawings are not to replace what was already sent to him. They're different properties.
Yeah, I think he's on board with the fact that realizing that if you look at this one easement, he's like, that's not correct. And they have to be revised, and that's when I talked to Brian about it and says, the subdivisions aren't showing and all the extras, so.
But I'm talking about the original easements that were sent to him that were at the front of Dyer Drive and Main that are
But he
if you
did-
would look at this first map to the right, if you will.
Yeah, he doesn't own any property there at the end of Dyer Drive. That's-
According to the county website, there is an LLC that, when it was sent, that's what he got. So he's picking up the mail for that
So looking at the
LLC.
first one, I don't see his name at the end of Dyer Drive. That's
Well, you don't because it's not on the map.
It's on the
okay.
other side, so that property, just from looking at it, I tend to recall the property to the right of Dyer Drive, that you only see a portion on this easement.
Mhm.
I believe that's owned by the same.
Yes, although he changed the name of the LLC or established a new LLC perhaps
Right.
for the properties down the road a little bit where the subway is. But that was the original
Here.
properties, I think was Hickory Ventures.
Yes, so I have a map here. The first two properties,
See the property line here? That's what I'm
Yeah.
confused.
I just wanted, so that it's not confusing again,
I
that
thought his property went this way, I didn't realize it was wrapped around the Dyer Drive.
No, okay, so these are two separate, this is down by the subway and the post office. This is his in the name of Tri-State Management, that this needs subdivided on the drawings,
we're looking at this.
okay? He owns also, coming up Dyer Drive,
Over
here and here, in a different name, it's Hickory Ventures LLC.
And that's when he originally contacted you, Paul, I believe he said it shouldn't be Hickory Ventures, it should be
Tri-State
Tri-State.
Holdings.
Tri-Trade Holdings, and it was,
Right.
we were talking about
That's
two
the
different
apartment.
pieces of property.
Yeah, that's what's weird, but you're saying it's on the other side of, on the.
If you're looking at this right here,
Mhm.
this is here, this is here,
Yeah, right.
and then right there. And this is where our project went down behind Dyer Drive.
So where does he own property at?
Here, and then down
Okay,
at the end of the
Down at
subject.
the
What we're
subway down
confused,
here.
I see the line right here. That's kind of wild that those two apartments, someone owns the property. You follow what I'm saying? This is like front yard.
Right.
The highlighted here are property lines. Those are two separate parcels, one for each
Okay.
building. And he owns both of those.
Okay.
Hickory Ventures does, and he appears to be the owner or one of the owners of Hickory.
So time out. So I think where the confusion is coming in, there's a family by the name of Bob and Wanda Carter, and I think they use the name of Hickory Ventures, and they own those apartments.
Yeah, because I know Jake Carter has apartments on Dyer. I know
Yeah,
that.
they definitely.
That's
own
what
it.
we're confused of. I don't
Yeah,
think Rick owns those.
We mailed them to the address that is listed for those properties
So
with
can we
the
look up
county.
Wanda, Bob and Wanda Carter, maybe on that list that we have that Sherry has of property owners, and see if we can identify it that way?
Yeah, they were at the meeting, John, there was somebody.
Yeah, Jake's been here. I know either he or his family has apartment buildings on Dyer.
They work here all the time.
Yeah, they definitely own those
Yeah.
buildings.
I wish we
I think you're
had,
talking on the far end. You're
I wish
talking
we
on
could
this
pull up the county website on a computer here.
Larry
and look at it
Joe,
better,
Where's
but-
Robert and Wanda's the next one.
Okay,
This one.
and yeah, they just have a PO box. And
And
that's,
I was thinking Rick owns the front yard of those apartments.
oh,
114
You don't.
Walnut Road in
I
McDonald.
was looking at the wrong line.
okay, and the parcel number that's on here for them is not either of these.
Right.
Okay, well, if you guys wanna move on with the meeting, I have my laptop and we can pull it up.
Okay,
We'll look into
we
it
can look at it
more.
later.
Yeah.
But,
I noticed in the drawing you had, there were other apartment buildings aside from those two lots you were pointing
Yeah.
out, so maybe those are the Carters, I don't know.
yeah, it's,
Actually, yes, you're,
Yeah,
I'll
he
be
just
even more
found it.
confused.
Yeah.
These are these two, and then this one, as you come down Dyer Drive, is listed as Wanda Carter.
Right.
Robert.
I'm 99% sure this family owns these two pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, they do.
that's not what it shows on the county website.
Don't know.
So, they better check their deed, if that's the case.
Well, what's confusing to me is, or I should say, what's confusing to Rick, I think, is when we're talking about the Hickory Ventures or something, somehow in his mind, he's thinking we got the wrong name. And I think the confusion is we're just going by a name, not the actual property. So what we maybe ought to do.
We're going by a name associated with the property on the county maps.
Yeah.
Well,
We can pull it up afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's look
Yeah,
at it
you guys will
afterwards.
work it up.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, but all I'm saying, we've already looked at this twice, because he brought it up once before, and we checked it, and then, thankfully, I'm glad he brought it up, because it brought to our attention the other issue with the line that kept on going a little further than was on the original drawings.
Yeah.
But those two that have been sent previously were sent to Hickory Ventures, to the address they have on the county website, and it's those two parcels.
Okay, we're gonna work on this a little later.
Yeah.
Because it's just going on and on. Okay. So Brian, we'll go with engineer's report.
okay, everything on my report tonight does address the items on the agenda, so I'll just go through my report. The easement reviews, we did hold a second easement committee review meeting on June 26th. About 20 properties were reviewed at that time. There have been miscellaneous correspondence, some issues that have come up, reviews, information communicated between now and that last meeting. But we do have information prepared for the next meeting. It's just a matter of when we want to do it and how much time.
So wait, I wasn't at this meeting, so you're saying there's a number of miscellaneous questions that have been handled. So the questions were with the property owners or us?
A little bit of both, not property owners that we took time to address that had easement questions. There was one gentleman on Carlisle Street who owns property. He doesn't currently live there. He has a subdivision and approved plan. He had questions as to whether if he built and put an on-lot system in, whether he would be required to tie in 3 years. That's one that's kind of outside of this. Spent a little bit of time looking at that.
So my understanding is our original intentions was to have a committee meeting, and then whatever properties were reviewed there, we would submit them with a recommendation of accept or don't. So when you're saying we're prepared for the next committee meeting, do we want to approve what we've already looked at? Because we've had two different committee meetings. George and I were at one, and George and Jim, or are we going to continue?
I thought that the understanding was that there was going to be one final look at everything and approval.
That's fine. I just want to be on the same page.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused. That's with the different properties, and that's what I was saying. Should we just look at them? But then it takes time to get all that stuff in line too. Okay. So I'm good with the next committee meeting. If you're ready, you have stuff that you want to look at, that's cool. Okay.
So we'll just get that scheduled.
And I just want to ask Jim and George on the committee meeting that you were at, helpful, good, was it?
Yes,
Oh,
it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good approach. It's working well, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because he puts it up on
Yeah.
the screen, you can see a lot of different things, and it moves pretty quickly when you ask him to change stuff, so
Yeah.
that's good. Good. Anything else under the easement reviews?
I don't have any.
No,
No.
just, I guess we should keep in mind now with scheduling the meetings that we're setting that October deadline for eminent domain, so we really should have an answer on everything by then.
You can move on to stormwater.
Sure. Okay, so the stormwater management, the design and stormwater report for the McCarroll Road pump station is done. We had to send out updated Act 14 notifications, municipal land use, just because they were so outdated since the last submission. And we also updated regulatory clearances, the PNDI, and we're waiting for a response, and then that'll be submitted. It's done.
So you did your design here. Wasn't the township having a part of that design that we had to work with them on, something about the conservation district or something with the water, the stormwater?
Yes, the stormwater facility that's down there, the ice rink, was a federally funded project. We met with the conservation district and went over what we could and couldn't do at the site pertaining to stormwater, so that there was no conflict with the
So we're
money
okay
that was
with
spent
that?
on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got direction from them and we designed it based on that input.
So the only thing we really need from the township now then would be their easement approval. Design-wise, we're okay with them.
Yes, except they are requesting now that when we submit the stormwater management back to them, that they that they approve it. The first time around, the planning commission recommended it for approval, and it never got a final approval from the supervisors. In order to submit to the conservation district, we have to have that approval. So we'll submit back to the township, and hopefully the review goes the same as the first time around. Okay, so I put on here public access mapping, that's the Google Maps. The sewer, the illustration of where all the sewers are, the interactive map. I sent Paul, you originally a link to check it out. It was forwarded around. Since that time, there's been property lines added. Some of the force main information has been updated, and there have been some general information notes that have been put on there. So if you click on a force main, it'll tell you that that's the force main going from the McCarroll Road pump station and where it ends up.
So we can still use the same link that was
Mhm.
emailed to us, it's
Yep.
just you're updating that.
Yeah, so if you guys want to take a look at it, provide any comments, and then however you want to handle either having the video shoot to talk about it, or whether we just put it on the township website. And
The reason I wanted to put on a video thing was just another way to reach out to say, look, this is available. If we put it on the township website, people might see it, might not see it.
Yeah.
We can talk with the township ladies too, to see if they have any other ideas of how to get it out there. But from a time standpoint, do you think it's pretty much ready, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could always continue to update and improve it, but I think for it to serve its purpose of people going on, if they're curious, if they're in the project, it's at the point where it serves its purpose.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that? Move on.
No.
Okay. Additional easements, we already touched on that, I won't go through that again. And then the on-lot testing, I did hand out tonight a draft report for you all to review. We will have, I anticipate the final report for the next meeting. I have an extra copy.
Thank you.
The final report, I assume, will be in binder style like the Act 537. We will be attaching all the survey sheets that we received, all our surveyor sheets when he went out in the field. It'll be hundreds of pages. So right here, I've handed out the narrative portion of it. I will let you read through this and provide comments at your leisure, but I'll just go through a few of the highlights. If you flip to page 3 to start, we did mail out 519 written surveys up front. We received back 188 of those, which is 36% response rate, and left an outstanding number of 331. I was looking at our easement signatures, and ironically,
Close.
signatures and requests combined are right in that same area. And then on the next page, page 4, broke it down by service area. In the Hickory service area, and these are defined by the project areas for the design and what was in the Act 537. We had a response rate of 19% from Hickory, 14% from Southview, and Westland. Of the 96 we sent out, we had a 3% response rate, 16.
So response rate 3%.
Okay, now on page 5, briefly we go through the PADEP sewage disposal identification needs guidelines. For a 500 customer project area, you must have a total response rate of 20% for it to be considered a representative sample. That's mail-out surveys, and then if you get more than 20% of mail-out surveys, you only have to field verify up to that 20%. But we received well over 20%, 36, and we were able to get out to most of those properties.
When you say most, meaning the
The 188.
that responded.
Mhm. Yes, and on page 6, you'll see over a course of 7 days scattered throughout, we got to 178 properties. And then jump to page 8 to talk about the actual results. Of the 178 that we were able to get to, we had 78 that were classifying as confirmed malfunctions. You'll see in figure 3 on page 8, that's a breakdown of what information led to the confirmation. We took some lab samples. We had approximately 10 samples of water where we suspected discharge. Of those, 4 came back that they confirmed that it was a discharge and a on-lot malfunction. There's a lot of information. I'm just trying to touch on the basics, and then
Are we missing a color on page 8, figure 3? 1, 2, 3, 4 colors there, but there's like,
quick pickup. Yes,
just FYI.
noted. I think it's a draft. And then suspected malfunctions, the categories for those were that they responded that they knew their system wasn't permitted, or if it was constructed prior to 1972 when you were required to have it permitted. And these are classifications that are given by DEP on what constitute as confirmed and suspected. So overall, of the 178, you had a 44% confirmed malfunction rate, suspected malfunction rate of 11%, and then 45% appearing functional. The DEP criteria or guideline for mandated action is 25%. So once again, it's stated in here that the goal of this is for PennVest funding project ranking. So anything over 25% is going to help in that regard. We go through a breakdown of the service areas and where each of those came from. and also the percentages on page 11. Page 12, we did note that we had a letter to the authority from the Township Zoning Office in 2014 with a list of ongoing sewage issues that they were aware of. We did touch on those. Most of those did have to do with holding tank agreements, commercial properties, and a couple properties that aren't in the study area. And then on page 13, just we go through the conclusion that you do exceed the 25%, and that this will be used for future funding requests. As I stated at the beginning, there is in the table of context a list of appendices. There's going to be hundreds of pages with that, so we'll put together because we have to include every survey, every lab test, every survey that our surveyor filled out when he came out, a lot of mapping, so that'll all be included in the final copy. So please take some time to look through it, and if you have any questions or additions, let me know and we can add it before we finalize it.
And this really won't come into play till Penvest timing, but we want to complete it so that we can get our money from the LSA.
Correct.
Just want to be on target. That's what we're doing. Very good.
Okay. And nothing new on Penvest, so that's all I have tonight, unless there are any other questions.
It's okay. One second. Okay. Is there any further questions? Was there a motion to accept the engineer's report?
I'll make a motion to accept the engineer's report.
I'll second it. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Mr. Wayne.
I'm just so confused, that's all.
That's good. The traffic is slow in Southview right now,
Yeah,
in front of your house.
Bridges
Yeah.
are.
Brian found out the hard way.
Yes, I had to circle around a couple times.
Yeah. He was on the other side, he was on lower Southview side, and we were supposed to meet at Brown's Apple Orchard, and he thought he'd just come over the hump bridge. He had to go all the way around 50,
Yeah.
but not too bad, but
On Route 50, it's gonna be messed up too with that other
yeah,
bridge.
yeah.
You won't be able to get there from here.
Did they change the date on that again?
You think it
Supposed to be
They
today.
must have, because as I got up to it, it kept saying road closed, and it said today, and it was still open luckily.
Well,
It would have been
it
a little late.
It was the 28th before the 30th, and then August 1st, so.
Yeah, the sign said August 1st.
Well,
today.
months ago it was scheduled to be closed. and-
Yeah, last year's.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, whatever. It'll happen eventually.
Wait for an
Eventually.
election year, I guess.
So under old business, we have some board vacancies. We got 2 seats still open. If anyone wants to volunteer out there in TV land and come over and give us a hand, we'd appreciate it. The second part of old business is our video project. I have about 15 to 20 minutes that's already recorded. I'd like to do something on the mapping just to kind of introduce it to people. So we get that finished. I think I'm looking at September probably to go ahead and broadcast it. I did get some numbers from HTTV. The first episode that we sent out got really good viewership. And when I say really good, I don't have it here in front of me, but I'm thinking 200 people viewed it over the 8 times, 10 times that they broadcasted it, we'll say. The second one, which came out in July, if I'm not mistaken, we only got like 25 people looked at it.
Summertime.
There you go.
Exactly right.
Sequels
And
never
be
do
my
that.
guess.
Right. So that's why I kind of want to wait for this third episode until after the kids go back to school in mid-September to put it back out. People start looking at it again. So just to give you a heads up what we're doing there. Anything else under old business? New business, I have the insurance renewal from Higbee. I only brought one copy. Jim, if you wanna take a peek at that, there's some signature pages here. And Sherry got me what we paid last year. So there should be a sheet that tells you.
2,800?
what we paid.
Total amount?
Yeah, what's this over here?
TRIA is accepted, total, TRIA is.
Yeah, that's the,
13.
if the terrorist thing, so we took this one here last year without
Yeah,
it.
right, that's
and
the
it-
one that's circled,
Yeah, so it's 1205,
yeah.
and
Even.
last year, well, we did it all in one check. So it was a total 2735 last year. And that's the second policy.
Yeah. George seen this?
I'm not gonna just take a quick peek at the second one. She sent me a cover page and I did not print it. So that's Sarah. Why does it not? It should tell me what the rate was. Yeah, it's $1,000 deductible. Premium 1,500. So 2705, and last year we paid 2735.
Going in the right direction.
Yeah. So, we would need a motion to accept this.
I'll make a motion to accept, what is it, 2705
2705.
for Higbee Insurance for next year?
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So we'll take care of that. I gotta do signatures on that later. Bills to be paid, Mr. George.
Okay. For Blonsky, Costello, and Lecky, we have a $150 bill. For recording of deeds. And easement batch 15.
So can
How
I,
many were in that? I don't even remember that.
She forgot to send this. This was from back in like, I think, May or June, and she said I forgot to send
It
it.
says record 2 easements, batch 15.
Okay, it was just 2 that got left out. Okay.
So there's that.
And just to interrupt 1 second, they
Sure.
always like, and the girl at your office always sends me a
Candy.
message, yeah. For the cost, when it's an easement cost or something like that, they like a separate check as opposed to it to be incorporated
Yeah,
into
it's an
the other.
accounting issue for
So,
them.
yeah.
do we make, well, we can prove them all as one, but Sherry
Right.
can send 2 checks.
And I did it that
She's
way.
already done it.
Okay, and then we have the retainer for 400 and a bill for $219.05. Phone call to Dwight Ferguson.
What was the last part, George?
It is a phone call from attorney Dwight Ferguson regarding D. Thomas property.
That's on,
Email
the-
to Paul.
That's on Eric's.
that's on my list of
Okay.
information. I didn't discuss it, but it was an attorney that contacted me about one of the properties. I believe I sent you two an email because he was going to follow up with
Yeah, it
Brian.
shows email to Paul and Brian.
Yeah, because after our discussion, it basically was a question of design changes, and I told him I can't help you with that.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell.
And review of easements and drawings related to inquiry by Rick Walsh pertaining to ownership information of Hickory Ventures Tri-State Management Holding Company.
And that we discussed earlier.
And how much was that one for?
Well, the first one was $84.25,
Okay.
and then the review of the easements and drawings related to Rick Walsh was $134.80. So, total of $219.05.
Okay, and then there was one in there for 250? Don't you normally put those in a list for us to look
Well,
at?
There is, okay,
No, go ahead.
there's 2 in here for $400 each for 2 months of retainer.
Okay.
And then the $219.05 is the total of those two sums.
Okay. And then the
The
one with Ferguson.
150 was, that's for,
The 134.80 was, okay.
I think you're thinking of the first one you mentioned. The 150 was a
Yes.
filing fee.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a
We-
filing fee that's separate.
We paid.
Here.
Yeah, there you go.
You
I
got
think,
the
you know what,
150.
Carrie, you normally, Sherry, you normally
Yes,
don't.
I-
We look at them in the folder, and I didn't get a chance to look at
Yes,
it.
sir.
That's, I just want to see. So the 150, that was for easement cost. Recording of deed. 150. Okay, so that was the 150, and there was another one for Yablonsky?
Okay, you want all of them?
I did, yeah, I'd like to look at them.
Sure.
No, I'm following it. I was confused on the 219 for the phone call with Ferguson and Rick Walsh. Now I get it.
Okay, do you want to look at anything else for it?
Yeah. 361, that's cool.
Okay, and then there's just 2 months of
Retailers.
KLH.
Yep, that's fine.
Sherry Crawford, $361.53. Attending meeting, preparing minutes, preparing August meeting, mailing list, contacting residents, emails, dealing with the audit, Nicole, reimbursement for mileage. The total was $361.53. We have a Houston and Associate for $4,200 for the audit. And that would be the sum of the whole.
For a total of?
I have no idea.
That's what I forgot to print, was the check registry for the checks that I did, so.
Yeah,
My
I thought we
apologies, yes.
had one
I-
that would say that, yeah.
Yes, my apologies, that's my fault.
Okay. Here, you want
It's not over 23,000, right?
No.
No. That was what my concern was.
Do you want to give me?
About 5,500 if I'm roughing it out in my head, right?
Yes, please. Simple.
150, 1,019.05, 361.53, 400, 4,200, and you, well, do you have the Higby in there? It was-
No, because we didn't do a check for it, so like it was just approved to be, are you gonna pay that tonight?
I would imagine
Higby?
we would okay that
Are you
Higby
gonna pay
check
the Higby
tonight.
tonight?
Yes, because it has to.
Sure.
Go. I think we have till August the 8th to send the check in.
Okay. One second. $8,835.58. $8,835.58.
Okay. 58. Okay, that was $8,835.58
Awesome.
total.
I'll make a motion that we pay those invoices.
And I will second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that was the Higby and the audit was taken care of, plus the others. Okay. Any other new business?
Yes, I need somebody to sign this.
Legalness, this is for the audit.
I know it's already been advertised, but I guess that it still needs to be signed and kept.
So George, yeah, what you might want to ask, and I don't know if we have to put a copy of the ad with that.
Okay, that would make sense.
Okay.
Did I get a copy of it and put it away?
Right.
Because they'll be looking for it next year on the audit.
Yeah. Okay. We can do it then. That's fine.
And she usually gives us one like next month. Gives it to you and me.
Jim has a question.
It's not a question, I need to make a point. As I look at our next scheduled meeting, I am unable to be here on September 5th.
I understand.
I can go to Watkins Glen then, after all.
You'll be closer than I am.
Where are you gonna be?
Oregon.
Oregon. That's great. Your family's out there, kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good.
So at that point then, I'm gonna say that our next meeting will be October something.
You're just gonna skip a month, or?
Yeah, skip a month,
You
yeah.
wanna try to pick another date, the week after or something?
Yeah, if we
like
pick
that?
another day, then it's
Yeah, I realize
$500
that.
for advertising,
Exactly.
that's the thing. What I was gonna look to Brian to is, there's really nothing that I'm aware of other than committee meetings, right?
Right.
And then, Sherry's still gonna be making calls, so if we can pull together by that October meeting, then we can kinda like really finalize as to where we're at with the eminent domain. You know, my goal is to really, one, get it submitted for permitting by the end of the year, if that's realistic. And then from there, the eminent domain side of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let me look at months here. That would be October the 3rd. Alright. So outside of that, there's no new business. We do want to go into an executive session to talk about properties. We don't anticipate any action after that, so we'll go